What's up, guys? This is Pedro from My Stuttering Life, where you will hear the good, the bad, the very ugly. We're gonna laugh, we're gonna cry, but through it all, just know that you are not alone. So, let's get started. This is episode number 66, and my special guest is Hakim Erwin. Mr. Erwin was born and raised in West Philadelphia, PA, and graduated from Edward Bach High School in 1991. Because of his love of hip-hop music, he also enjoyed a brief career in the music industry where he served as an audio engineer and an intern and assistant A&R rep with Rough House Columbia Records in Philadelphia. In 2003, he was called into ministry and became a licensed and ordained minister. He graduated in 2011 after studying theology for 6 years at the Jameson School of Ministry. Presently, he is a creator and host of the hashtag Just Jump podcast, as well as the owner of GFF Life, which stands for Greater Faith and Favor Life, which provides life, leadership, and public speaking training and or coaching services primarily for faith-based professionals. Mr. Erwin also recently completed his first book, The Blue Folder, The Art of Spiritual War, due for release in late 2020. I am honored to have him as a guest with me on the My Stuttering Life podcast. Welcome, Hakim Erwin.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. This is a true honor. We have a lot of topics to cover, so let's get started.
All right.
Do you remember when you first began to stutter?
Yeah, actually, what I remember more so is the results of it. I remember very vividly in grade school, my teacher at the time, Mr. McGinn, never forget his name, he went around the classroom and made everyone read out loud. And I forget what grade that was in or what year. I just know I was in grade school. And so when he went around, the class, it got to my turn. And I just remember just sitting in my little chair, my little heart was beating all fast and my little eyes just started watering up and I couldn't even see the page, let alone try to read the page. And I just remember, I hear my so-called friends at the time laughing and chuckling. And I just remember that was just a really bad experience. I mean, I'm in my 40s now and I still remember that. So yeah, that was the first time that I really remember the effects of the speech problem that I had, speech impediment.
Does it run in your family? Do you have other family members who stutter?
One of my older brothers, my second oldest brother, he did have a little speech impediment. I don't remember specifically how bad his was, but I do remember that. Yes, he's the only one that I remember that has it. Mother, father didn't have it. Any of my other brothers, no. So it was just him and I who had the issue.
Oh, wow. Did you ever go back into your family history? Maybe a grandmother or possibly grandfather had stuttered?
No, I didn't. I remember my grandmother. She was in my life until I was the age of 10. My other grandparents did not have the pleasure of meeting them. But as far as I know, no uncles, no aunts, no cousins, no one else in my family that I knew of or had ever been spoken of, as far as we knew, had a speech impediment. So this was a very rare situation for my brother and I.
That is rare to have a brother that has a stutter also, because with my family, my mom stuttered. And so she was also telling me that in her family, it runs with her family. And so she had hers growing up. all through school. But as a teenager, she she had enough of it. And so she just, told herself that that was it. And she was all done.
Wow.
And right, I know the power. She had that mindset where she had told herself, "That's it, I'm done," and she
Yeah.
stopped.
Yeah.
And so I am just in
Yeah.
awe
I'm
of
sorry to
her
cut you off,
power.
but
I'm
I
not there
actually
yet.
met a gentleman.
I'm in my 40s too, like you.
Yeah, I actually met a gentleman in Topeka, Kansas when I was doing a training. And I share with my classes, that I'll usually my first like 20 minutes of my presentation, I always tell them how I overcame, a speech impediment and everything. So this guy came to me during lunchtime and he asked me how did I overcome it? Because he went through the same thing and he told me that's exactly the same thing that your mother did. He said that's the same thing he did. He just got tired of people teasing him and all of that. So he made up his mind that he wasn't going to do it anymore, and he said he stopped. So that's it does happen for some people.
That is just, that's just powerful. Just one day, that's it, I'm all
Yep.
done.
Yep.
Now, during your school days, did you ever have speech therapy? And if you did, was it helpful?
Yes, actually, right after that experience that I shared with you in the classroom in grade school, that teacher, that's back when teachers cared about the students, but he cared enough to send me to the speech therapist. We used to have a speech therapist, and I would meet with her in the library, and she taught me a few techniques that were actually very, very, very helpful. And I was able to apply those. And then actually, when I went to junior high school, I was linked up with another speech therapist, and she helped me out as well. Actually, she actually discharged me. She was like, it appears that, I don't even detect your speech problem anymore. So I'm going to basically, write you off and, say that you're good to go. Even though I still had the problem, I just got really, really good at masking it and hiding it. So, yeah. But yeah, she was very, very helpful. The first lady, the techniques that she taught me, and then the other lady also. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
very helpful.
Wow. I've had like 20 years of speech therapy. And so what, you are hearing is a lot of hard work and practice. I read out loud from a book, and I practice in front of a mirror, practice my name, greetings, good morning, good afternoon.
Right.
So during your school life, for many people in high school, that's a tough time because of the hormones and the peer pressure and everything. But if you add on a stutter, high school can be kind of rough. How was high school for you with having a stutter?
Because I was able to learn those techniques really early in grade school and in junior high school, it made the masking of it and the hiding of it, little techniques that I had learned, not to overcome it, but to mask it, those helped out really, really good. And I was fortunate enough to not have to do any out loud reading when I was in high school. So that probably saved me. But friends, who were really close to me, they knew that I did have the problem. Actually, one of the funny stories in high school was I played on the football team, and the coach actually wanted to make me the quarterback because I had a pretty good arm. I was pretty accurate, but the issue, because I knew I had the speech impediment, I knew that I couldn't really call the plays and things like that. And I had a buddy of mine who would tease me a lot. Um, so I deliberately started messing up so that he couldn't put me at the quarterback position, because I knew that when things, really got hectic, or, when things were really, really going down, that I wasn't going to be able to get the plays across like I needed to. So I purposely messed up inside the huddle so that he couldn't put me at quarterback.
Wow. I
Yeah.
mean, we could be brothers because I pulled the same thing. I pulled the exact,
I probably gave up a college scholarship because of that.
oh my gosh, I gave up a law career. So yeah, I
Oh
know, I
wow.
know. You were talking about masking your stutter. Given the terms in the field, they call that covert stuttering, where
Okay.
you are trying to, hide it. And then there are, and then you have an overt stutter, and that's Pedro, where I block on everything, but
Mhm.
but I breathe, and then I move on. But did being in football help you to handle the pressures and stress of being in high school and having a stutter?
Yes, most definitely. Sports, music, and I'll talk about the music part later because that's kind of really, really ironic story. But sports, yes. In high school, being on a football team, being a very good player. I also did gymnastics. I tried to play soccer, baseball. So everything that I could do physically, so that I wouldn't have to do a lot of verbal, as far as communication. That is what really, really helped. I mean, because if you were the athlete, then we didn't even really want to hear you talk. Like anyway, we just want to, we just want to see you play. So, yeah, the football, especially football, that really, 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 really helped.
Now, do you have any advice for parents and teachers with regards to children who stutter?
Yes, definitely. You have to be willing to be patient with the child. One of the things that I actually even tell adults, because I do public speaking coaching now, and one of the things that I really try to help people with, especially now, I am not a speech pathologist or whatever the technical term is, but having lived through it, I understand the importance of just taking your time when you're talking, breathing, which is the techniques that I were taught, and just really helping the child to understand, look, you don't have a problem. There's nothing per se wrong with you. You just have to take your time. Your thoughts are moving faster than your mouth. Your mouth is trying to keep up with your thoughts. You know what I mean? So that just shows us how smart you are. So you just have to really continue to encourage that child, because if you don't, that can really damage someone's psyche, and that can last. I mean, my issue lasted for 30 years. You know what I mean? So you really have to be patient with the child, take your time, you know, uh, help them as far as with breathing, with taking their time, and just really be supportive. Just go over the limit or go extra with really being supportive, because communication is at the key of everything that we do in society. So they really have to encourage that child to just be patient, take their time, and let them know that it's something that they can overcome.
Wow, that is great advice. How cool. Now, let's switch gears. So, job wise, had you ever faced discrimination because of your stutter?
Not necessarily discrimination. The funny thing was, I basically, um, I discriminated against myself. My biggest issue, or one of my biggest issues, was talking on the phone. That was my that was my Achilles heel. Talking on the phone, trying to have a phone conversation. So I wouldn't really make phone calls or initiate phone calls. And I remember working at the Federal Reserve Bank, I had to make this phone call every night. We had to call in some kind of work that we did at the end of the night. And I remember one of the older gentlemen who taught me how to do that job, he knew that I had the speech issue. So he was extremely patient with me. He used to work with me. He used to give me the confidence. Mr. Freddie, I never forget him. And because of that, that really helped me gain the confidence with any job I had after that because of what Mr. Freddie did for me, giving me that confidence, to help me with making this call over the phone at work. I just, that really blessed me to have the confidence. So, yeah.
Phones are extremely, what's the word?
They are the devil for a person with a speech problem.
Ooh, you better preach. You better
Yes, they
preach
are.
because the telephone, I mean, looking at it, just looking at it, I mean, my heart
Yep. Yep.
hurts.
It's intimidating.
My hands
Hmm.
are sweating. And plus, I mean, it hasn't even rang yet. And I mean, I'm having all of these physical issues just looking at it. And so, I mean, thankfully you had a person to help you with that. And for me, I mean, there were times, you know, while at work when they would ask for a relief to handle the phones, I would go straight
Wow.
to the restroom and hang out in a stall for 15 minutes because I knew their
Yeah.
break was over in 15 minutes. So I made sure I ran to that restroom stall because that phone was constantly ringing, just one after another, and it's like, no, I can't handle that right now. So I will just excuse myself and run to the restroom.
Yeah, there is a lot. I just believe, especially even with us having this conversation, I actually forgot how much anxiety I would experience with having to make phone calls. Now, answering the phone wasn't so bad, but having to make those calls, wow, I really have not thought about that in years. How bad the anxiety used to be with having to use the phone. I think that's a part of having a speech issue, or the impediment or stutter that a lot of people take for granted and don't realize that a lot of people who have that problem, the anxiety that you experience with something as simple as making a phone call, it is profound. It is very, very hard, very difficult.
One of the great tips that my hypnotherapist taught me is to take the power back because I was giving the telephone too much power over me. Once I told myself, you are just a piece of plastic and some wires. Why are you having this huge impact over my entire life? Once I had it in my head that I am in control. Pedro is calling the shots. You know, from that day onward, I can hop on the phone and make a phone call. It's all good now because I took back the power
That's right.
that it had over me for decades. Oh yeah, that's rough. So in your history, had you ever experienced depression because of your stutter? And if you had, did you ever seek treatment for it?
Yeah, I would say the depression, it wasn't as far as a real medical issue, but there were times when I knew that because I had the speech problem that I had, that I wasn't reaching my full potential. I knew that there were things that I purposely did not do because they required using a phone, they required speaking. One of the things that I'm really, really thankful and truly thankful of is that I was never a nervous or scared type of person or lacked the confidence. So I didn't have a self-esteem issue. I just knew that I physically could not get my words out. So to save from putting myself in that position, there were things that I purposely did not do and some things that I even wanted to do. So that brought about, not real heavy depression, but yes, there were bouts because I was just upset at myself, just knowing, man, this is something that I know that I should be able to get over, but for whatever reason, I can't, because the little tricks and things that I learned how to mask it, like I mentioned earlier, they helped. But deep down inside, I knew that I still had the issue and that it can take over anytime. And the people that really, really knew me knew that I had that issue. So yeah, so there were some bouts of depression, but as far as seeking specific treatment for that, no, I didn't seek it. I was just very blessed and fortunate that the help came looking for me. So so the help came looking for me. So I was just extremely blessed.
That is wonderful because as we have our good days and then we have our bad days.
Yes.
And for many of us, those bad days can turn into dark days. And so what I tell every person who stutters is that if you're having a bad day, reach out. There are a ton of people, who will just listen to you. There are many organizations out there. And let's say you Google stuttering. Thankfully, there are a lot of people out there. They're on Instagram, they're on YouTube who have a stutter and they are just living their life. And they are telling the world, look, here's who I am. I have a stutter and life goes on. And so I tell everybody, just hop on, like my grandma says, the interweb. If you can hop on the interweb and Google stuttering, there are a ton of resources out there to just help because we've been there. Now, do you do this? You were talking about tips and tricks. So if you're having a block, like I'm having a block, I have this tip where I will just tap my leg or I will tap my head or tap my foot to help me get the word out. Have you ever had that?
Oh yeah, most definitely. That was that was one of my really subtle things that I learned to master. I used to like do that. I used to clear my throat. Because my issue really was with with vowels, the A, I, E, O, U's, and all those words that began with, those letters, those were my biggest challenges. So I knew if I had to, start off a sentence or something with I, and I would I, to like kind of prepare myself for it. So that was that little
Oh,
throat
wow.
clearing trick. But it's so subtle because so many people clear their throat that a lot of people
Right.
didn't even detect it. So like I said, I got
Wow, you are
extremely
pretty
good.
slick there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I
I
got
may
really
just have to write that one down, Mr. Irwin.
good. Yeah.
Clear my throat. All right. How? I mean, we are very creative. We are very resourceful when it comes to trying to get out of out of a block. I may tap my leg, or I may do a British accent, which just throws everybody off because I'm from Texas.
Right.
But we have all these tools and tricks and tips in our toolbox that for me, I just have to pick one. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, I go to the next one and then to the next one, because my goal is my past history of having a block is I stop breathing and I close my eyes. And at a certain point, you know, you get kind of dizzy,
Yeah.
and then you have the possibility of falling to the ground, which, I've only done one time in my life. It'll never going to happen again. And so that's why I use all these tips to, help me get through the block. So now I am curious, what is your most effective technique that you do for fluency?
Um, my most effective technique is just really breathing. That's one of the things that I was taught to just breathe. One of the things that the speech therapist taught me years ago that I never, ever, ever forgot was she told me to look at the clock. That was back when we used to have the clocks with the short hands and the long hands. Now we got everything digital. But she would have me stretch out the words that I had the most problems with. So in my mind, that's what I used to do without actually verbally saying it. So it was, for me, it was a real mental thing. I'm fortunate to not have it, the issue really um, basically take hold of me, I guess, the way that it used to. So, but when I did for fluency, what I would really do is just really take my time. Because one of my issues was I would just try to talk fast. I would just always try to get all my words out. And I just had to begin to understand to breathe. Breathe while you're talking, breathe before you talk, breathe while you're talking, and slow the speech down. I actually tease my class with that now. I was in California last week and I was teaching my classroom, talking to them about how I was just really taking my time and I was making them cling to every single word, just like that, right? So it was,
Oh, wow.
and but what that does, and I even tell people who I have the opportunity to speak to who have issues with their speech, I tell them, look, keep it in your mind that you do not have to rush out your words. Take your time. You know what I'm saying? Just take your time. There's nothing wrong with a second or two of silence. Most of us who have speech issues, we are so concerned with trying to talk properly that we're not talking, period. Like we're not even focused on just communicating properly because we're so fixed on just trying to sound right or just not trying to mess up that we don't take our time to breathe. We don't take our time to just speak the words. And so for me, the fluency comes from just taking my time, breathing while I'm talking, and not trying to rush my words out.
Wow, that is powerful because we all have that need to hurry up. You've heard this before that we live in a microwave, world
Mm-hmm.
where it must happen in like half a minute, or 1 minute. So if you have a stutter, time is, for me, it wasn't on my side, so I had to hurry up and get everything out. So I completely understand where you are coming from, that it is important to slow down and to just pronounce every single word.
There you go.
So here is a hot topic. It's a super hot topic with all people who stutter, and the answers are split right down the middle. So let me ask you, Mr. Erwin, do you let others finish your sentences?
Do I let others finish my sentence? Pedro, I've never even really paid that any attention, whether people do finish my sentences or not. If a person does or try to, then I would still repeat it. Yeah, I would still basically get out what it is that I wanted to say. Um, Now, maybe back when I was younger and I was giving people the power, like we mentioned earlier, yes, but no, now. And because I speak professionally now, it is very rare that people try to finish my sentences. So, because I usually have the floor. So, in most
Right.
cases, it is extremely rare that someone is trying to finish. The only person that can really get away with that, and I not have any issue, is my wife. That's it.
Well, hello, hands down, yes, sir. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the number one answer right there. So here is another hot topic. Okay, so and and this is a head scratcher. So when you are alone, can you speak without stuttering?
Yes. Yes. And because of that, because I knew that I could do that, it helped me when I was around people because I would mentally put myself in the mind frame of, well, what did I do when I was by myself? Well, when you're by yourself, you don't feel the pressure, right? When you're by yourself, you don't feel like you have to rush your words out and things of that nature. So I'm just a deep thinking person. I've always been a deep thinker. So I applied the same things that I did when I was by myself, when I was in front of people. Um, just being relaxed. Being relaxed when you are speaking is so underestimated. But because, like I said, because this is what I do professionally, speaking professionally, I understand, not having issues with as far as public speaking. I know that is what I have to be at all times when I'm communicating with people. I understand that I must be relaxed. So the more I'm relaxed, the better I can communicate. So when I'm by myself, that's when I'm relaxed. So I don't have the speech issue. It was only when I was around people. So, like I said, I really had to put that into practice, the importance of remaining and staying relaxed. Because once you start getting nervous and once you start feeling pressure, then that's when you're stuttering or whatever kind of speech issue that you have, that's when it really shows its ugly head.
Wow, that's fascinating because again, the responses were just 50-50, split right down the middle. See, and I am your opposite. When I'm alone, I still stutter. When I'm talking to myself, and I respond, I still stutter. When I'm talking to my dog, Ruby Jean, I still stutter. So, I mean, that's just fascinating how we're all different in our journeys. Then also what you have done, which is so powerful, is you took that environment to help you speak in public,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, I did.
See, and that is just awesome. That's my goal down the road is that I want to be a first TEDx speaker. Then I'm going to write a book and then I want to be a speaker. So so I want to be where you are, Mr. Erwin, because I want to be at your level. So I mean, what you are doing now, it is just phenomenal. You are just awesome. Ooh.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm humbled at that. Because this has been a long road, sir. It's just,
Ooh,
you
it's
know
a long
yourself.
road. Ooh.
Yeah, this is, but that was my turning point. Um, when and I don't want to jump ahead of you, but when I had a class called Voice and Diction and Public Speaking, those were my first two classes when I went to theology school. Those two classes literally transformed my life. They literally transformed me as far as with my speech issue because I was still having the issue then. But just the confidence and the support And that's one thing that I really hope people really hear, just in all your podcasts talking about this, is the importance of the support factor. Having that support, the support of my classmates that I had and my teachers who knew that I had a speech impediment, but they were very supportive. Um, that was intricate in me overcoming it and being where I am. So my goal now is to, basically help people, because for years I didn't have a voice, or I didn't have a voice, that I wanted to let people hear, besides rapping, but just talking, I didn't have that voice. So um, I feel like now I'm making up for all those years when I couldn't talk, or, wasn't confident enough because I knew that I had the issue. So now that's what I want to do. Now I'm literally trying to help as many people as I can, with coaching and, all of that, to help them, because I understand what it feels like. I know the struggle. I know the embarrassment. I know all of those feelings. And so I just want to be able to help as many people as I can. So that's my goal.
That is truly awesome. I mean, it's just, ooh, it just fills my heart up. I can feel it. I can feel it. So in your past, or, possibly right now, whenever you have a block, let's say you have a, doctor's appointment, and then you walk in and there's an admin person there, and they greet you and they ask you for your name, and then you have a block. Not a normal block. This is a long block. And the admin person asks you, did you forget your name? Has that ever happened to you?
That has probably happened a long time ago, but I do remember, you know, some of those situations, but more so with family and things like that, because that's when the guard was down, when I was around family. So, a lot of times I would get the teasing from my brothers, things like that. Um, but as I began to get older, and again, learning those little techniques that I learned how to use, um, I would just clear my throat like 3 or 4 times. And then I was able to get my name out. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
especially my last name, because that has a vowel on it. So, saying Erwin is easy for me now, but years ago, saying my last name wasn't that easy. So I had to and then say it.
Ooh, my name has
And,
2 P's, and so I can feel you. I can feel your struggle. I've
and,
been there. Ooh, my
and
my back in the day, my P's were so horrible. They would come out like a kiss, like Pedro Pena. And so people would ask me,
why are you trying to kiss me?
exactly. I said, "No, sir. I
That's
am
funny.
not trying to kiss you. I'm trying to get my name out, sir and ma'am." Gosh, I feel your struggle because I've been there too. Woo. So I am curious. Did you ever think back then that your stutter might hold you back from having a career?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Because basically, like I said, I knew that there were certain things that I didn't do. There were certain phone calls that I probably could have made, that I didn't make. There were certain jobs that I didn't go for on purpose, because I knew I would have to have constant communication with people, or, I would have to make those cold calls, or, talk on the phone, or just have frequent communication with people. So I knew, yes, that my speech, or I felt for years that I was limited as far as to what I could do because of my speech. Now, the funny thing is, I could rap, and I've heard that before, how people who can sing, people who can perform vocally, because that's another section of your brain, from what I've heard, you don't have that issue when you're doing that. So I could rap with zero issues. So I was really into music. So I went from sports to music. And so I could do that. And I felt like as long as I could rap, I don't really need to talk. you know, so
Exactly.
uh so I actually that was another trick with my fluency that I kind of learned how to do because I knew how to rap, I knew how to perform with that. There were certain ways like I would talk kind of like I'm rapping. My words just didn't rhyme. You know what I'm saying? So, like, say for instance, like I'm saying right now, how I would get my words out and say this and say that. So I would say it like moving my shoulders and moving my body to kind of like
Exactly.
really like rhythmically get myself in the mindset of I am performing, but I'm just talking. But in order to flow the way I know I did when I rapped, I kind of had to perform when I talked, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Because there were only two times in my life where I felt so at ease, and one was during hypnosis, and the other is when I can sing. And to do that, to hear myself have a tune in my head, and then to come out without any blocks, without any repetition, without anything,
Yeah.
that told me that I have it in me.
Right.
Once I thought that way, and focused on, if I can sing, everything's going to be all right.
Right.
And it was like, wow, I have it in me. And so I'm going to work hard. I'm going to practice and practice and practice, until I get to that level, because I have it in me. And through the power of song, I mean, that was a huge turning point also for
Yeah.
me.
Like, think about it too. And like, as we're sitting here having this conversation, I'm really thinking about the power of that. I never really realized it that much. But as we're talking about, being relaxed, when you're singing or if you're rapping or doing anything as far as a vocal performance, it's something that you really don't even think about. You just do it. And it comes out, it just flows out of you naturally. Once you learn the words, once you learn what it is, that you have to perform, that you have to sing, you just do it. You breathe and notice people who really understand and know about singing, breathing is a serious part of being able to perform while you sing. So, what I started to realize with my rapping was if I can adopt that same mentality into how I speak. See, a lot of times, Pedro, we think too much about what we want to say. And that's why I truly believe a lot of us who have a speech issue or a stutter issue, we continue to do it. Now, like I said, I am not a speech therapist or anything like that. This is just from experience and what helped me and other people that I've heard. I just really learned to realize that if we think about what it is that we want to say first, take our time and then let it flow out, we run into less blocks because it's a flowing. It's the same thing with singing. You don't think about the words that you're going to sing, right? Because you know them. So they just come out, they just flow out. And so I just believe, and what I did was begin to transfer that same mentality into my speaking. And that has tremendously blessed me and helped me.
See, and you are 100% correct, because when I was growing up and doing speech therapy, when I talk, as I'm having a as I'm talking to you, I can picture the words in my head, that will be coming out. And then down that line of words, I know there is a word that I will have a hard time with. And so as I'm still talking with you and thinking about the words and knowing there's a hard word down the road, mentally I'm going to change out that hard word for an easier word as I'm still
Yep.
talking to you
Yep.
and thinking about it. It's exhausting.
Yes, it is.
It's
Yes, it is.
draining.
Yes, it is. Yeah, that's something that a lot of us do. We switch around or we substitute those words that we believe that we're going to have a hard time with. What it really comes down to for me, Pedro, or what it has come down to, and I just shared this with someone last week in California and in one of my classes. I've been very blessed and fortunate to understand the power of thought and how important and powerful our minds truly are. When you tell yourself something, see, look at what you just said. You said that we see that word that we know we're going to have a difficult time with. So, guess what? When you come to that word, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have a difficult time with it. You know why? Because you told yourself you're going to have a difficult time with it. And I know that that sounds easy. So I'm not trying to make it sound like it's just something that you just snap your fingers with. It takes time. It takes time and it takes practice to really mentally mentally strengthen yourself to the point to where you believe things so wholeheartedly that that's what's going to manifest. Things that we find a challenge and that are hard to us, we have told ourselves those things so much that it's basically they have been reinforced in us to the point to where they are hard. They're hard without even thinking. So now we got to work twice as hard mentally telling ourselves that it's not hard, but it's possible. It's possible because I've seen it, I've lived it, and I still do it to this day. I tell myself, this is what I'm going to do. And I just repeat that and I just keep doing it and I keep doing it until it manifests. I just believe it. That's just me.
Those words are so powerful. And then let me do a quick sidebar. Your voice and tone is so calming. It's so peaceful. You know, when I'm hearing you, I mean, I'm like, wow. I mean, I could listen to you all day, all week. I mean,
Cash at me, Hakim. No, I'm just playing, just playing.
I mean, it's just, you have that power in your voice and you are calm. I mean, that has a huge impact on people like me because that's one of my goals to reach that level. And so, I mean, your voice has such power to it. I mean, it's just like, wow. It's just wow.
That's the, sorry, but that's something, Pedro, that someone actually told me that. Someone actually, there was a certification that I had to go through when I wanted to become a high school presenter, right? When I first started getting into public speaking, I went through this company and I didn't understand. I knew that I had a strong voice, but I was having trouble passing this certification. And a gentleman, and I forget his name, but what he told me to do, and it was so funny because I was thinking, all right, this guy's kind of weird. But he told me, he said, Hakeem, he said, you have a strong voice and you don't even realize how powerful your voice is. He said, here's what I want you to do. He said, lay on the floor, right? Lay with your back so that your face is facing up, right? And then he said, now what I want you to do is recite this phrase or like whatever it is that we had to do. He said, I want you to recite this laying on your back and laying on the floor because I want you to hear how powerful your voice is. So I did that. And when I tell you, Pedro, I heard my voice for the first time. And I'm this was only like about 10 years ago, right? So I'm still really recognizing it. He said, listen to that. He said, your voice is your gift. When he said that to me, I've been living that ever since that day when he told me that. It's like I have, from that day, I realized by the grace of God, God has blessed me with a voice. So my thing was to now I will use my voice to help other people. Because on that day, that man helped me see that. And probably without that, I still probably would not have realized to this day how powerful and blessed and gifted I am to have the voice that God has given me. So yeah, it's people people can help. Somebody can say one thing to you one time and that can just turn your life around. It's amazing.
The power of words.
Yes, sir.
So here is another hot topic. And so how was dating with having a stutter? Because as you know, dating is hard as it is, but if you add on a stutter, it's like 1,000 times more rough. How was dating with having a stutter?
um it's funny that you mentioned that. For me, it wasn't too bad. Only the hardest part to me was making the phone call, to call the girl. So I would always give the young lady my phone number and let her know that she was free to call me to kind of take the pressure off of me having to call her.
Oh, well, that's a
So
good move.
yeah, and it worked. Now and then as we began to talk, I just was a very open and honest person. I would let them know, look, hey, I have a speech problem, so this is just me. And but because we talked about it and I shared it with them, most people would say to me, I don't even hear it. Like, what do you mean you got a speech problem? I was like, trust me, I do. If you listen real good, you'll be able to detect it. But I would tell people, I would tell them right up front, and the whole thing with giving them my number, that kind of helped. Yeah. So dating wasn't too bad because I was very honest upfront with it.
Right. Ooh, that is also a really smart move. Give them your number first, and so that way they call you.
Yeah, most definitely.
Now, what do you think about all of this new, technology? You have Google Home, you have Alexa, and then you have Siri. Do you think this is helpful or hurtful to people who stutter?
It has been it's helpful. It's helpful. Um because I think what it does is it gives them the confidence because they are physically actually talking to someone. So that has helped them. So that especially Siri. Now, the only problem is I can't speak for Alexa too much. I don't use her that often, but I know Siri gets on my nerves. Siri gets on my nerves sometimes because I'll
Ooh.
be saying things and Siri just be saying something back, and I'll be like, how in the name of all that is green on this planet Earth did she hear me say that? I did not say that. So, but I truly think it's helpful for people who have stuttering issues because it can give them that practice of just physically talking to something, basically something else, and getting the response. So it's not just in your head. You're actually um, physically communicating. So I think it's leading in the right direction because that's just the start. I firmly believe that's just the start. So as people who have issues, like who have speech issues, but they're also tech whizzes, then they'll be able to, if they haven't already came out with it, they'll have something that can help, people who have speech issues. So I believe that's just the start of, more technology that can help people.
How cool. Because I believe that for me, when I'm having a bad speech day, I can hop on an app and order food and prepay. And so when they come to the door, I don't have to say anything but just smile and take the food and then eat. So yeah, that's just me. Okay, so speech wise, what was a challenge that you had to overcome and how did you do it?
Speech wise, what was a challenge that I had to overcome,
Yes, sir.
and how did I do it? The challenge for me was just really overcoming the anxiety. The phone issue was a huge issue. With us just having this conversation, you actually kind of dug up some old wounds there.
I
But that
apologize,
was
Mr. Irwin.
that was honestly one of my biggest challenges. Once I was able to um, get a hold on, or just getting more confident with just being comfortable speaking, or having or overcoming those issues with the vowels especially. And like I said, with Mr. Freddie helping me with the phone, when I had to call those jobs in for work, that really was one of the biggest challenges, just using that phone like that. And it just really came with just hearing it, or excuse me, with just doing it more. You know, they people say repetition is basically one of the best teachers, and that's just how I did it. I just had to do it. I had to just keep using the phone, keep practicing the techniques and things that I was hearing, or learning, and that's how I was able to overcome it. So now I can make a phone call, and sometimes I actually smile at how easy it is to make a phone call now. Whereas, like we mentioned earlier, I could just look at the phone and I would just run from it. you know,
Yes, sir. Now, what has stuttering taught you?
it's taught me to not take things for granted, because one of the issues with stuttering, people who stutter, people who have speech impediments, it really makes you feel like you're limited in things that you can do, what your career choices are, and things of that nature. And I believe that once you get that support, uh, that we talked about, once you get that support, once you get that help, once you learn techniques and things, uh, once you listen to my Stuttering Life podcast, you get that confidence.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, yeah. Free plug. Hakim at Cash App. You get that confidence. It builds the confidence. That's really, in my opinion, that's really what overcoming the speaking issues and things are really about, is just that confidence, having that confidence to just um to just do it, to just really I don't know. I guess I'm losing my words now, but just really having that confidence, is just doing it. Hopefully that answers your question.
Oh, yes, sir, it does. That's very powerful. Now, what advice would you give to another person who stutters?
The advice that I would give to them is basically to hammer home what I mentioned earlier. Don't feel like you need to rush your words out. Don't speak at another person's pace. Because if you're trying to speak at someone else's pace, 9 times out of 10, they don't have the same speech issue that you do. So you have to get comfortable speaking at your own pace and speaking at your own comfort level. Breathe while you're speaking. Breathe. Mentally put yourself in that mindset that you are relaxed. You are in control of the conversation. I think one of the issues that a lot of individuals have with speech issues or with stuttering issues is that we give too much power to the other person in the conversation. No, like you said earlier, take back control. That person is clinging on to your words just as much as you're clinging on to their words. So have the confidence that you can say what you want to say, the way you want to say it, and how you want to say it. Don't let it be dictated by someone else. So take your time, breathe, collect your thoughts, and then speak.
That is wonderful, powerful advice. And while you were talking, I was writing down notes because those are what we call golden nuggets.
Good, good, good. Well, that is my job to coach people. So I'm glad I'm helping.
Yes, sir. Now, lastly, if you had the opportunity to be on the world stage, to give the world to give the world insight as to what stuttering is, what message would you give to the world?
As far as what stuttering is, I would tell the world that we all have flaws. We all have issues. No one is perfect. Many of us have an issue with our speech. It doesn't make that person or what that person has to say less valuable than anything else. In all actuality, I believe a person who stutters, the value that they have to say or the words that they have to speak have more value, actually. Um, so I would just let the world know to be patient. The world does not have to move fast. Everything does not have to be microwaved. Let's take time to enjoy life. Let's take time to listen to what people are saying. I mean, that is one of the basic human needs, is to be understood and to be listened to be heard. So those who stutter have a little bit more of a challenge communicating. So because what they have to say, I believe, is so valuable, I think we should give them extra time to hear what it is that they have to say and extra support. Um, so that's what I would that's what I would say if I had the platform. Let's just be more patient. Let's be more caring, and let's just take out time to listen. Let's stop moving so fast, and let's just listen because somebody has something valuable to say.
That is a very powerful message. Thank you for that. And so, Hakim Erwin, I would like to thank you for spending time with me and talking about your story, because I believe there's healing in sharing. And so, what I want to talk about now is talk about your book, because I am really curious on your book, and then also GFF Life.
Yes. Well, the book, I have been in 2006. My mother passed away in November of 2006, and before she passed away, I was going over her house and I was sharing with her some inspirational pieces that I was writing. And so every time I would write one, I would go over her house and share it with her. And she would collect them, and she collected them all together in a blue folder that she had. So when she passed, I had found the blue folder, and I was like, wow, like mom was collecting all of these inspirational pieces that I had. So I believe God put on my heart to develop a book called The Art of Spiritual War. And what it was, or excuse me, what it is a collection of inspirational pieces that I wrote. It is Christian based, because I am a Christian. I am a believer in Jesus Christ. So they are inspirational pieces based on scripture, based on my faith. And I actually, just this past year, I renamed the book the blue folder, because that's how it all started. It all started with the inspirational pieces being collected by my mother and placed in the blue folder. So it's an homage to her in honor of her and the impact that she had on my life. And so I just completed it. I just completed making all the edits and the proofreads. So what I'm doing now is actually recording the audio files for it. So I'm using my own voice instead of paying someone. I am
You
reading it.
have the voice, believe me.
And hopefully that might get me some more voice acting jobs. So, but yeah, so as of right now, I am recording the audio files for it, and Lord's willing, it'll be out later on this year. So it is called The Blue Folder, subtitled The Art of Spiritual War.
That is wonderful. I can't wait. I can't wait to get my hands on the hardcover book and then also the audio book.
Good. I'll make sure that I give you your copy.
Thank you, sir. Now, now talk about GFF Life.
Yes. The Greater Faith and Favor Life. That is my public speaking company. That's where I do my contract training under. So basically what Greater Faith and Favor Life LLC is I do life leadership and public speaking coaching and training. I do leadership and management training. I train people on how to deal with difficult people. So anything that encompasses public speaking or leadership training or life coaching or public speaking coaching, they're all under the umbrella of Greater Faith and Favor Life. So I have a website, www.gfflife.com. And on that site, you will see all the information, my podcast. I have links to the podcast, my Just Jump podcast. I have links to that on the GFF Life website as well. It talks about the services that I provide. So if anyone needs voiceovers, or you need someone to do keynote speaking, or if you just need some life coaching, some leadership coaching, or some public speaking coaching, make sure to go on to www.gfflife, leave me a message, and I'm here to help you.
That is awesome. We will have the link put in the notes. That way they can just go there quickly and find out all of the great work that you do at GFF Life. Now, you are a fellow podcaster. You have a podcast called hashtag Just
Jump.
Just Jump.
Yes.
Tell me,
Just Jump podcast.
tell me about that podcast.
Well, actually, okay, so the start of 2019, I had been working at a job, and I had reached a pretty good level. I was an operations manager, so, but I was just getting stressed out. Corporate America was just stressing me out. And I was literally physically getting sick because of the stress from my job. I wanted to do my own thing. I just wanted to be in control of my own destiny. And so I had been listening to podcasts, and I was saying to myself, wow, that is a good way to really get, my message out there, is to have a podcast. And I wanted to help people live their dreams. So originally the show was supposed to be called The Dream Show with Hakim, or the Hakim the Dream Show. You know what I mean? Kind of play on my name. But my beautiful wife, she said to me one day, babe, why don't you call it Just Jump? Because that's what you are encouraging people to do, to just jump into their dreams. And I was like, wow. I said, girl, you just struck gold with that. I said, that is perfect. I said, that is it. Because that's exactly what the podcast is. I encourage people to just jump, to just take that leap of faith and to live your dream. So I did my homework, on things. I officially launched it in March of 2019. So actually, we are approaching our 1 year anniversary. I'm excited about that. So that's what it is. The Just Jump podcast is available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and we just made it to Spotify. So it is available all over the place. We just jumping all over the place.
That is awesome, sir. First, I would like to congratulate you on your upcoming 1 year anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I will also have those links to your podcast in the notes. That way they can find you quickly, follow you, and the S word, subscribe.
Gotcha.
Well, sir, it has been an honor. I mean, I've had just a wonderful conversation with you. I want to thank you. Thank you. You are #awesome. You are courageous. You are inspirational. And so I am just extremely thankful to have you tell your story here on my Stuttering Life podcast.
Thank you for having me, sir. I really appreciate the work that you're doing. It is an awesome thing that you're doing. And I wish you nothing but success and but the best. Thank you again.
Thank you, sir. Now, this won't be our last, conversation, because in talking to you, I wrote down like 20 other questions to ask you. And so, down the road, when I come back from Podfest, because I am speaking at Podfest.
I wanted to go. I just couldn't afford it.
I mean, I am breathing Hakim Erwin. I started breathing last November when they told me that I made it. And
I'm so happy for you, man.
Thank you, sir. And so, I may be calling you next week or possibly this weekend to pick your brain. Cash App Hakim. And so that way, you can, give me some pointers, because, this is on a bigger scale. This is, a global podcasting, community. And so I am honored and privileged to speak, but I need to, practice and breathe. So I may be calling you, Mr. Erwin.
They are honored to have you, sir. So you think about that too. Just as honored as you are to be there, they are lucky to have you too. So you go with that confidence. You got this, sir. You are doing an awesome work, man. I just, you are doing something awesome and something very special, Pedro. So yeah, you got this, man. You got this. And I am rooting for you.
All right, sir. Thank you so much. Well, I hope you have a great evening. And so, down the road, let's connect, because I want to bring you back on when your book comes out. That way we can have a global audience learn all about your awesome book. All right, sir?
Thank you. Thank you, Pedro.
Great. Thank you, sir. You take care and be well.
If you like this podcast, head on over to Apple Podcasts. Subscribe, rate, and review. Thank you for listening, and we will talk again.